As the desperate Republican Party scrambles for anything to distract the American people from the ever-increasing legal challenges facing Donald Trump, Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert has assured her fellow cultists that come hell or high water, President Biden will be impeached. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. All right, so what am I talking about? Well, Lauren Boebert, one of the, she is perhaps the craziest person remaining in the Freedom Caucus, which is the craziest segment of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. They recently kicked out Marjorie Taylor Greene after Boebert and Greene continuously had a feud. So Lauren Boebert's the last woman standing. She is the craziest person in the asylum, and she's running the asylum in certain respects. And she went on, I think it's Newsmax, the Eric Bolling program, to assure her fellow cultists that, listen, no matter what, all roads lead to impeachment for President Biden. No interest in fact-gathering or process, not even calling into question whether or not impeachment is necessary. Not the usual line that people used to say is, listen, impeachment's on the table, but we got to follow the facts. Nothing like that. She says, come hell or high water, President Biden will be impeached. So let's hear it straight from her mouth, and then we will unpack it together.
I know that this is leading to impeachment one way or another. Either we are going to have articles of impeachment come up in committee and go through this process, or, Eric, I will demand an up and down vote on the House floor for impeachment of Joe Biden. We cannot stand to have a compromised president in the White House.
Yeah.
So there you go, folks. They are not interested in a fact-finding mission. They are not interested in following the facts wherever they go. As ridiculous as, Boebert's stance is and the posture of the GOP, if they said something to the effect of, listen, we're going to follow the facts wherever they may lead, and then, impeachment's on the table, and if we feel that the facts support impeachment, then we'll pursue it then. I still wouldn't trust it, right, because the GOP has a long history of acting in bad faith and hyperpartisanly in a way that Democrats don't, but that would at least be much more palatable. It would at least pay superficial lip service to the notion of bipartisanship and fact-finding, sincere fact-finding, which, by the way, they would demand of the Democratic Party. Actually, they wouldn't even demand that. They would say, no matter what the facts say, you shouldn't indict a Republican president. But again, the double standard is rich. They have offered no evidence whatsoever, none, of any sort of financial transactions tying President Biden or then Vice President Biden to any sort of illegal or corrupt or illicit activity, right? They're just, it's innuendo, it's illusion. They're trying to use Hunter Biden, the president's private citizen son who never wielded government power at any point on behalf of anybody. They're trying to use him as a proxy. See, if we can prove that Hunter Biden is corrupt or perhaps engaged in illegal activity, then some sort of moral transitive law dictates that President Biden is somehow morally and legally culpable for it, even though, again, Hunter Biden's an adult, like 50 years old. It's just weird mental gymnastics because at the end of the day, they don't care about the process. She flat out says it. Listen, the impeachment we either follow the impeachment process, or if we don't, I'm going to demand that we shirk the process and try to impeach him that way. They don't care, okay? And this is part of the reason why the Democrats are at a bit of a disadvantage against such a bad faith obstructionist party, because Democrats, right or wrong, try to relentlessly chase and honor process. I would argue very often to their detriment, okay? Because sometimes the process does need to be changed. But Republicans, there's no hesitation whatsoever, okay? So to me, it's interesting that they're continuing to do this. And by the way, as a reminder, President Biden's been in office for about 2.5 years, and there have been like 15 or 16 articles of impeachment filed against him in that time, dwarfing the number of articles of impeachment filed against Donald Trump and members of the Trump administration by that time. So it's rapidly escalating under Republicans. Now, as you know, even if they manage to find the votes to successfully impeach the president, which there's no guarantee, especially since it's like 18 House Republicans are sitting in Biden districts, and I imagine the public will be furious if they waste political capital, time, effort, and energy to try to impeach a president without considerably damning evidence to justify it. But even if they get the votes anyway, you have to have a two-thirds majority in the Senate to convict, and there's absolutely no way they would ever get that. So this is an exercise in futility, and it will only hurt Republicans going into 2024. So I guess part of me is kind of hoping they try it. I don't know yet. I know it's kind of playing with fire, and we'll see what happens. But either way, it's going to end in abject failure for the GOP.